Today's story is going to be about an internship I had when I was in school. I worked as an architectural engineer on this internship doing electrical and mechanical design for mission-critical systems. Think outlets, lighting, HVAC, ductwork, plumbing, pipes, etc. And on this particular internship, I worked with some very experienced engineers who had been in the industry for a long time. Some of these people had been working in the industry since building drawings were done by hand. I actually had a lot of emphasis in school about drawing things by hand because so many of the professors were involved in the industry when you just had vast rooms full of drafters who were drawing all of the construction documents one pencil line at a time. With technological advancements, computer drawing softwares very quickly replaced hand drawing when it came to building design. The first programs were basically just drawing tools where you would draw the lines in the computer. Naturally, the nice thing about drawing it on the computer is you had a file that you could duplicate and would be easy to edit without having to redraw the whole thing or putting erase marks on there. And there's a lot of mindset that still persists in the industry that when you're drawing drawings for a building, it's just a series of lines, but it's moved on way past that. Architects and consulting engineers now use 3D BIM modeling software. The 3D modeling software allows you to draw ductwork in all three dimensions, pipework in all three dimensions. It allows you to build a space so that you could even drop in your 3D model, put on a VR headset, and look around the room as if you're in it, the way it's going to look when it's built. This is incredibly powerful computer programming that is now used, and it's incredibly dynamic. It makes coordinating large projects much easier. You can predict clashes and things that could go wrong way more in advance when you do everything accurately in 3D. But it's a lot of work to draw that kind of stuff in 3D. It takes a lot of time. So while there's a planning benefit to be doing everything in detail in advance so that you know everything's going to work, it also takes a lot more upfront investment for designing and drafting and alike, as opposed to just drawing your intent with 2D lines on a piece of paper. Back to the internship. The experienced engineers, especially the one whom I worked under on this internship, would, when we were under a particular tight deadline, even if we were using 3D BIM modeling software, would say, okay, we don't have time to figure out how to route all of this stuff in 3D. Just use the two-dimensional lines in order to get it done and get it out the door. Now, it works. That's the way that we used to draw drawings in the past. So why can't we just continue doing that moving forward? Again, it takes a lot more time and effort to draw in 3D and get it all mapped out accurately, get elevations right and the like. But it also means that you might not have enough time in a really tight deadline to model everything you want to do in 3D. And for temporary purposes, sometimes I would be directed to just draw the detail lines. There's more than one design solution when you're designing a building that's going to serve the client well. Even in mathematics, there's multiple approaches to solve the same problem that are all equally valid. So I can't discredit the idea of just drawing detail lines on plan as being a solution, especially on a tight deadline. But there are pros and cons to every approach. There's always going to be a give and a take whenever you're looking at something that's going to get you a solution or a result faster. In some situations, if it's a very simple project or the area that's being designed doesn't involve a whole lot of other systems, drawing with detail lines might be the most effective and efficient way. It might be the full amount of planning that's required in order to make a constructible project. In other situations, using detail lines in a very congested, complicated, large project where there's so much going on, using the detail lines is going to be omitting building information from other people who are trying to coordinate their systems in that congested and complicated area. In that particular situation, such design approaches would be inappropriate. I have found that in trying to put any product or service together, you're balancing basically three different things. And in those three things, you can pick two to be your priority, but not all three. One of them is going to be speed. How fast do you want it? You can have something fast. The second is going to be inexpensive. If you want something to be inexpensive, you don't want it to cost a lot relative to other alternatives. And the third is going to be quality. So you can have something that's inexpensive, but still high quality. It's just going to take a long time to produce. You can want something that's going to be high quality and you can want it fast, but it's not going to be cheap. And if you want something to be cheap and you want it done fast, well, yeah, you're going to have some takeaway on the quality. In the case of the detail lines, you're taking away the quality of the information that you're putting into the model in order to make something that was inexpensive and fast. And as mentioned before, sometimes that's a valid solution. Sometimes you don't need all that detail. You've passed the point of diminishing returns. In other cases, you really need to take the time to do something to the highest quality that's available. I want you to keep expense, quality, and time all in mind as we move into today's budget tip.